Hi Sandy, it's really nice to have a chat with you here in such a beautiful place like Theatro Circo.
It is great, yeah. It's amazing to be here again, yeah. It's beautiful.
Well, soon you'll be there on the stage. Are you nervous?
Not at the moment, no. I have been, you remember I used to work here. I had a job working kind of with the international relations and production. And I used to be backstage sometimes with other artists, and I got more nervous then sometimes actually with other artists, with the build up and hoping that everything goes well for them, you know. Yeah, I'm not nervous. I did have one experience in here though, but I'm not sure if I should talk about that because then it's bringing up a memory from the past. But you know, sometimes when we get stage fright, our mind works in funny ways. And I had a feeling that I just forgot everything. Forgot all of the words. My mind said to me, this monkey mind said to me, you don't know the words for any of the songs and you've forgotten how to play the guitar. Just as I was coming on the stage. That wasn't good.
Scaring, isn't it?
It is, it's really scary, yeah. When I picked up the guitar, you know, this is a kind of cliche story because this is what always happens so far. You pick the guitar up or you get to the instrument and you start playing and
you finally can relax.
Yeah. But I generally don't really feel that so much these days. When I started making music seriously, but I had a band at university. It was the first time that I had a band, which was really just great fun doing covers. The band was called Sexual Disneyland. And then we decided to be serious about that with a couple of the guys, the guitarist and the bass player from the band. We decided to go to Manchester and become international rock superstars. Things didn't go quite like that, but we decided, and I don't know, what am I talking about?
You were in Manchester.
In Manchester. Yeah. And when I started playing these kind of really cool venues like the Roadhouse and the Night and Day Cafe, I was really nervous, and I learned to do self-hypnosis at that time. And I used to do self-hypnosis before I went on stage, kind of like a meditation before I went on stage to calm myself down.
To get more relaxed and to be able to perform the way you want.
Yeah, and it really worked actually. It really worked, bringing the breathing down, and yeah, because some people can't cope. I have a friend who's an actress. She was an actress, and she used to realize she would vomit and before shows and stuff. And at a certain point, she said, "Why am I doing this to myself? You don't need to do this. Maybe this isn't the right path for you." So she stopped. I've never been that bad.
That's good. Talking about your work, All Stars Are Made is a 2 years project you have been working on. 2 countries, 2 albums, and a deep connection with the nature.
Yeah. This is How Stars Are Made it's been a really interesting adventure actually, and it started with a focus on the Norway, the event that's going to be here in October the 6th. Will be focused on Illuminations, which is the Norway album, and I've been I kind of got inspired by Norway some years ago, and the idea of working with exploring the Aurora Borealis, and that's why it's called Illuminations, because of the Northern Lights, and I had been working on this off and on for some years, just doing some research when I had some time, and I like to just work like that, you know, with kind of feeling a little bit of freedom. And during the pandemic, something changed, and you know, we all had our own struggles, and one of my struggles was being immersed in a foreign culture. Even though I've been here for a long time, I was feeling a kind of homesickness and missing the language and being surrounded by the language, and I was talking a bit about that to my wife, and I don't know, I started to think about a different place to spend some time, an English-speaking place that had sun, and not really going back to Manchester or Scotland. As much as I love those places, I don't know, I really love the blue sky here. And it led me to think about California as a place, which had never really occurred to me, because as an artist, I was always much more drawn to the East Coast, to New York. When I was working here, we did an event called the Day of the Dead with burlesque artists, and it was a co-production with Julie Atlas Muse, who was working in New York at that time, and I always really identified with New York. And then in the last few years, I started taking a focus on California, the nature and the landscapes there, but thinking of a sunny place that I could maybe spend a few months. And as I was thinking about that, I started to remember some artists that had been really inspiring to me throughout my life as an artist. Neil Young, spent time in Laurel Canyon, and Joni Mitchell, also in Laurel Canyon, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, the Mamas and the Papas, the Doors. There's been a lot of kind of amazing music made there. And right along, California, I'm not an expert, but there's Jane's Addiction, which were a band that had a huge impact on me, and were a big influence when I was working in my band in Sleepwalker in Manchester. They're from Venice Beach, which is just down the coast from LA. So
it's important to say that it came out of that pandemic period. This album, California, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was during the pandemic as a way it was a kind of release valve for me. Doing the research, like I was saying, I had this feeling of isolation in a way, and investigating the possibilities of going to California and immersing myself, even just for a visit of a few months, and immersing myself in some way in different landscapes, different places like Laurel Canyon or Death Valley or the Joshua Tree, or down to San Diego, or there's lots of really nice places that there was two things that were happening which is a bit different from the Norway album and the Portugal album that came before that. Were very much more focused on the sublime aspect of nature, the beauty of nature as a kind of source of inspiration, as the principal source of inspiration for the songs. When I started thinking about California, I was listening quite a bit to Lana Del Rey. I think she's amazing, and she lives there, and I think her work is. I really admire the way that she's kind of created. It seems to me almost like a movie or a book, where she's a character, a central character in the story that she's writing, and she very openly pays homage to cinematic inspirations and musical inspirations that she's had, and I really like that. There's a song that she does with Tomorrow Never Comes, I think it's called Tomorrow Never Comes, with Sean Lennon, and she references John and Yoko in the lyric of the song, and I think it's really sweet the way that she works with that. And I was thinking about that. That inspired me actually to think that the California album could be an opportunity to pay homage to some of the artists that I've really loved and that have really inspired me, like Neil Young or Jane's Addiction or Joni Mitchell or many others actually.
Coming back to Norway album, usually you like to be inspired by the places, like you said,
Yeah.
and write about them after visiting and feeling the place. With the Norway, it didn't happen exactly that way. So the plans didn't went out as you wanted to. My question is, what did you learn from a Norway experience?
Yeah, I mean, the American writer Joseph Heller. Just give me a second. I need to get some water. In fact, if that's all right. Oh, sorry. The American writer Joseph Heller has a book. His really famous book is Catch-22, which I loved when I was a teenager. And he has another book called Good as Gold, which was very funny. And the main character is called Bruce Gold, and one of his catchphrases is "Nothing succeeds as planned." And I think that we've been talking a bit about that, and I think it's really true. I think it's one of the things that makes life really interesting, but sometimes it makes it really challenging. And there was a few obstacles along the way over the last couple of years in trying to get this done. I was supposed to go to Norway at the end of last year, and that didn't quite happen. I was to go there and do some filming and photographs, and I ended up only going there in January. At the end of January and February, I went to Oslo and I spent a week there, which was really great. It's the first time I had been there, and by coincidence, my son Cassius was there. That wasn't planned either, but he was there working for a week, so we met up and had dinner a couple of times. And I'm hopefully I'll be going in after the concert. Actually, the last part of writing the book that I'm doing about this will be done in November or December, where I'll be spending a few weeks, hopefully a month, in the Arctic Circle.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
I love your new single, Oslo, kind of love letter to Mother Nature. Can we say it's a kind of under activism you're doing there?
Yeah, undercover activism, yes, something like that. Well, no, I'm glad that you like that. Thank you. That was we've got another single coming out before the concert, which is called "The Magic Is You." But Oslo was really interesting because the song started as I think a lot, maybe not a lot, but certainly some of my songs start with this kind of yearning to explore something different. I think the first line of Oslo is "In search of some silence, I'm leaving my burdens behind.
Yeah.
With the fjords before me, reaching for something sublime." And so that it starts with that kind of urge for travel that I've always had, looking for something new, looking for something sublime. And so it's almost like a kind of mission statement about what the album Illuminations is going to be about, even though my mission, if you like, wasn't that clear. When I was working on when I started recording the song, you know, you say there's that kind of activism part. There's a kind of spoken word part at the end of the song. It wasn't originally in the song when I wrote it just as a kind of guitar, like skeletal song. And we took it into the studio and we were recording. We made the first kind of run through of the song, and we had a build-up part at the end of the recording that sounded really great. And we were listening to that for a couple of weeks, and I wasn't really happy with, even though I think the songs, you know, if I did it on my iPhone, it sounds nice as a melodic structure. It sounds really nice. But when you go into the studio, it becomes, the challenges change, it becomes something different. And I was really happy with the end section. It sounded like a big explosion kind of thing. So I said to André and Robin, maybe we should just forget what we've done, put the end of the song at the beginning, and we're going to start with that kind of energy and try to work from that high energy point as the start. And that's how we did it. And so we were working on that for months, actually. I suppose one of the luxuries of the pandemic is that we ended up spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
It changed the way we worked, actually, because the previous album, there was a lot of great musicians and great friends, actually. There was 8 of us in total on Confessions from the South. And I had the idea, that we would work together somehow on this album as well, but it gradually transformed the working methods and the amount of people. It got reduced as a direct result, because of the lockdowns and the pandemic, to just the 3 of us working on it, me and André and Robin. And I started to really like the simplicity of that and the efficiency of that. And it became easier to focus on this kind of electronic idea we have of focusing more on the electronica. We call this glacial electronica. We use that as the kind of guiding image for that album. But the activist part came along as we were working through the song, and I just had a feeling that it needed something.
Something was missing.
Yeah. And I was listening, and actually I was watching this great a performance by the Swedish sisters called First Aid Kit, who are great. They're kind of country, folky, country duo. They're brilliant, and they were doing I don't remember what the song was actually. It was a kind of homage to Patti Smith, who I also really love. That's well documented, and that was a kind of inspiration, and so I came back to that at a certain point and said to Ruby, let's try something. I have got a kind of idea, and we tried that, and it really worked actually. It brought it brought a new energy and a new life to the song that it hadn't had before. It was quite a dreamy escape, idyllic escape for a new life, and all of a sudden I'm making reference to the exploitation of the planet and the events of the fossil fuel tragedy that's causing the problems that we have.
That we know so well, all of us.
Yeah.
Music has this magic power to heal and to guide us through dark moments. The Illuminations album came out of a very painful period in your life. Do you want to share with us that moment or that period?
Yeah. The original inspiration for that came about because of when my sister-in-law was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm not sure if that was like 12 years ago, and so this was a long time ago that I started to think about that, because I had previously done an album called Resultou with a great friend and great photographer, filmmaker also from Portugal, called Eduardo Brito. And this was a trip that we did in 2010 along the Bay of Biscay from Finisterre in Galicia to Finistère in France, and then we went across the English Channel to Land's End, and then we went to the Scilly Isles and spent a few days there. We did a book of photographs, analog photographs, and that Eduardo made with his camera, and I created 9 songs connected to 9 of the photographs, and that was a really inspiring experience for me. It was a different way to approach my creativity, and I loved it. But I always had the feeling of trying to do something. The photographs are kind of black and white, and I saw that as a really Resultou musically was really kind of experimental, like a soundtrack for a movie, and And I had this idea from then that just developed over a period of a couple of years that it would be really nice to try to do songs. It's not because that resultou, which is only has one song. It's just a lot of kind of quirky, funny musical episodes. It's a beautiful thing actually, but anyway, it was just a way to tie my songwriting in with maybe full colour photographs. And so I was dreaming about this for a long time, and the idea really was when my sister-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. It was a real shock. She was 46, and I was taken aback quite seriously by that, and she had a lot of plans with my brother to travel the world and retire early and do a lot of different things, and her bucket list was big, and I saw that wasn't going to happen, and I thought maybe I should reduce my own bucket list as well some way. So I asked myself, if you can only do one thing instead of all these thousands of things that you're going to do, if you can only do one thing in your life, what would it be? And my answer to myself was to see the Northern Lights in Norway because of the fjords. And I remembered, seeing those photographs in books in school and stuff like that. So that was it. That was the starting point, was that if you can only do one thing, it would be to see the Northern Lights in that context, in that really sublime context of nature. And then my mind being the way it is, it said, oh, that's a great idea for a song. And then my mind, being the way it is, said, well, why don't you do an album of songs and travel around the whole place rather than just one song?
And surfing and travel to Morocco and so many other things meantime happened, didn't it?
Yeah. That's another project. But yeah, I mean, I think that those activities. Yes, I reduced my bucket list to one thing, and then it started to build it up again to more things over the years. That took me many years to get to the point that I can consider that maybe I will manage to do a lot more things. And I'm really in a phase driven to try to do a lot of things.
Talking about stars, but on the stage, do you remember the first time you saw a concert? How did you feel?
Yeah. I when I was a teenager, I used to go to Glasgow Barrowlands a lot to see bands like Susie and the Banshees. A band that I really loved was Spear of Destiny. The Spear of Destiny emerged from a band called Theatre of Hate, and I really loved them. I think they really appealed to my kind of adolescent angst, and I went to see them many times. It was a big inspiration for me to even. I don't even think I had the courage at that time as a teenager to think that I could even be a singer. I was in awe of the singers and artists that I really admired, like Kirk Brandon from Spear of Destiny, or Ian McCulloch from Echo and the Bunnymen. And I think it was the Echo and the Bunnymen did such great concerts. The lighting and the atmosphere and the songs were really great. And when I suppose I was about 14, 1982, where seeing, I don't remember which album that would have been from the Bunnymen. I saw quite a lot of concerts of the.
But you remember the feeling?
I remember the feeling, and I remember saying to my friends, they're still great friends, we've been friends for a long time since school, to Graham and Brian, that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to. I feel so amazing now, in this context of the concert. I feel so amazing now, and I want to learn how to do that. How to make people feel as amazing, as connected, as special, as elevated. It was really a transcendental, completely spiritual transcendental feeling for me. My education really at that time, I didn't like school. School was extremely boring. For me, extremely boring. And I really consider that my education started with, for better or worse, with the music newspapers like NME and Melody Maker and Sounds, reading interviews with these singers and songwriters that I really loved, and finding out how they saw the world. That was what really interested me, how they saw the world and how they were doing what they did. And Ian McCulloch and Echo and the Bunnymen, it was really magical. It seemed like magical, and Ian McCulloch had such a sense of self-belief that was really impressive to me at that time. It was really inspiring because as a working class boy growing up in an environment like I did, I grew up under when Margaret Thatcher was in power, and the Conservative government in England and in Scotland that felt kind of, at that time to me, kind of disempowered. So we felt kind of disenfranchised and disempowered as Scottish youth. And so I think that one of the, if we could call it functions, it makes it seem more clinical than I feel it is, but one of the functions of bands like Spear of Destiny and the Bunnymen and the Chameleons and many others was to give us a boost of confidence, I think. But yeah, it was really amazing. And I remember reading, I actually, the Bunnymen, Ian McCulloch, gave me a pathway into two artists that then became really important for me. They used to do medleys in their live concerts, mixing different songs together, and they introduced Doors songs, and Echo and the Bunnymen introduced Doors songs, and also Leonard Cohen. Okay. And at this time I'm listening to like kind of gothic bands like The Cure and the Bunnymen and Susie and the Banshees and Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry and the Sisters of Mercy, and later on the Mission, but I went to the local library, which was an amazing place for me. I did a lot of studying there, independent of school, and I think I got there some Leonard Cohen, and then I quite quickly bought on vinyl Leonard Cohen. I don't know if it was called Greatest Hits or something like that. It's a really classic yellow cover, and these just really simple acoustic songs, which were a massive contrast to the music that I was listening to. But I really fell in love completely with Leonard Cohen, thanks to Echo and the Bunnymen. So it was all kind of connected pathways through reading the interviews and going to the concerts. When I was at school at that time, I used to go to the town centre in East Kilbride, where I was born and grew up. On a Wednesday morning, I used to go to the town centre and sit on the floor of the newsagent, John Menzies, and read the music press, because I didn't have enough money to buy all three. I would buy one.
And now you are on the news. As an artist, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. That's quite a sweet turnaround, and I think that that young Sandy would be really
proud,
happy, yeah.
And grateful.
Grateful, amazed, proud, yeah, full of joy.
I've heard that the magic is you. It's much more than a song. It's a story, your own story. Is that true? Yeah.
The Magic Is You came about in a really nice way. I mean, it's funny, we were talking just now about the young Sandy. Here's my water.
It's right there.
Where do I start with that?
Your personal growth, I guess.
Yeah, I started. Well, I've been doing some kind of personal growth work through a platform called Mind Valley for a couple of years, and one of the things that I discovered through that is a meditation, just a kind of 20-minute meditation called the six phase meditation from Vishen Lakhiani, who's the founder of Mind Valley. And I really like the way this is structured, and I've not been using it so much recently. I'm just starting to get back into it again. I had a bit of a break from it. You know, these things go in waves, I think. With health and exercise and diets and routines and songwriting and focus and poetry or whatever, surfing. And I was doing this 6 phase meditation. It's broken into the 6 phases. The first phase is like just for a couple of minutes you're focusing on love and compassion for the world, and then the next phase you're focusing on gratitude for the things that you have in life, and you know, general gratitude, and then forgiveness, forgiving people for things that have happened in your life. Then it's what comes after that? Forgiveness. My mind's going blank now. It goes on to your future plans, like big goals and dreams that you have, imagining your future life, like visualizing things. And then the 5th part is visualizing the day that you're going to be living through, and trying to bring some kind of positive energy into that. And then it ends with connecting to the light of the universe, or some kind of personal blessing for your day to give you
energy,
a good energy for the day, a good feeling for the day, and also to help you to project a good feeling to the people that you come into contact with. So, and it just lasts 18 minutes, and I really like that. And I was working on that, using this meditation and going to the forgiveness part a few times around about this time last year, and a curious thing started to happen just spontaneously in my mind, and I went back to forgive an ex-girlfriend, one of my first girlfriends. You know, we start off our romantic lives with a lot of problems, most of us now, and I went back to kind of forgive her, and I found myself in my imagination forgiving myself for not really having the emotional experience to deal with that heartbreak in that situation. You know, I got my heart broken, and as we all do, but I didn't know how to manage that, and I didn't talk to anybody about that at the time. Even friends that I'm still really close to, that I mentioned before. I couldn't really talk to anybody about that. So those little, and it wasn't like a huge thing really, but those little episodes, these kind of little traumas we gather in the course of our lives, and we just keep going and don't really do anything about them. And sometimes they can be a bit inconvenient. They will be in our minds every now and then as these kind of chicken voices, I think Tom York calls them, chicken voices in our mind. You
realize that one was still there.
Yeah. And I think I had to do something with that. And so, yeah, I was there, and it was a really nice feeling. I just gave my younger self a hug, and it felt really great. And this feeling of, well, you know, you just didn't know. And subsequently, I suppose, in some way, did we get a bit angry at our younger selves? A bit embarrassed?
About yourself?
Yeah, we can feel a bit of shame about our previous selves because of things that we've done, and I think it's important. It has been important to try to do a little bit of healing for that. And the Magic Is You just emerged out of that. I was telling Hugo from the theatre, actually, so who has been helping with the co-production of this with Theatro Circo, and he's a great friend. And I was telling him about this process with the 6 days meditation, and this change that had started with the forgiveness and going back and to my younger self at certain different moments. And I had one experience where I went back to myself in primary school, but it happened at the end of the meditation. So when I went to visualize a white light coming, this kind of healing white light, my younger self got a hold of the light and started playing with the light like a lightsaber from Star Wars.
Okay.
It was a really sweet and funny moment, and I was telling Hugo about this, and Hugo was saying that he had just been talking to his husband Julio the night before about creativity and art, and he said, Hugo said that when we enter into a kind of a moment of creativity when we're writing something, we should try to enter that moment like a kid, with the energy of being a kid on your birthday, when you're opening at the present, that's the thing that you really, really wanted, and you're just kind of ecstatic about that. And if you can approach songwriting or whatever your craft is, if you can approach it with that kind of feeling, then you have a really good chance of creating something magic. And I really liked that. I love that idea. I don't think it's always possible to be like that, because I think great songs come from all kinds of different directions, and great art comes from as much from sadness as it does from that kind of level of joy. But I love that idea. And what happened? I'm sorry, this is a long explanation, but what happened after that? I made a post on Facebook or Instagram because I'd been absent for a while because of the surfing, and I was working on making a kind of video stuff about learning to surf, which I'm still trying to learn to do, and also went to Morocco in May last year, released the Oslo single, and I went to a wedding in London, and so there was quite a lot of things going
happening
on
at the same time.
happening at the same time, and I was, the social media went in the background for a while, and so I made a post and saying, I've been doing lots of stuff, but I've been, still exploring and trying to find some magic, something like that. And Tess, my wife, her cousin Luís, said on Facebook, "The magic is you," just that. And I just felt that was such a kind thing to say. It just felt really, kind and caring. And I immediately thought, that's a great idea for a song. And the song was written really quickly, just in 1 or 2 days. And and I sent it. I recorded a video, me and Tess singing it together actually, and sent it to Luís. So that's about. The magic is you. It's about my own. It inspired by my own kind of personal growth, exploration. The idea is to share that, and hopefully people get inspired within themselves to
find the magic they have.
Yeah.
Their own.
Yeah, because we are you are the vehicle that's experiencing the world. It's just you, and the more you can love yourself, actually, the better it is for you. I suppose your experience of life.
Especially nowadays, I think it's more and more important, isn't it?
I think I'm probably always has been, but I think something that's really good. I mean, at the moment, and I think this is has also emerged during the pandemic, is being able to talk about personal growth in this kind of way. And it didn't used to be very fashionable. Not that matters or not, but whether it's fashionable or not. But I think, our well-being, our spiritual well-being, mental well-being, it's fundamental.
I think, like you said, loving ourselves and accept the way we are now, and not criticizing the way we used to be. It's already something huge.
Yeah,
very important,
yeah,
isn't
completely,
it?
yeah. Yeah.
Well, we could stay here for hours, I guess.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
But I think we have to finish.
Right, okay.
So, would you like to leave a message for those who are listening or watching us right now before we finish this conversation?
Well, yeah, come along to the concert on the 6th of October, and we'll have a great, beautiful experience together. I think that's the message.
An inspiring experience also.
An inspiring experience, yeah. And look after yourselves, look after each other. That's a good message.
Sandy, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.